It was a cold but sunny day in January. I got in the car and began heading on the highway towards another town in my state. That day, my friends Steve, Frank, Chad, Colin, and I would go to Jump Zone, which is a trampoline park. We were all excited. We had never done something like this before. School had also been really boring as of lately, so letting off some energy jumping on some trampolines really seemed appealing. Anyway, I got off the highway and drove into town. 5 minutes later, and I arrived at Jump Zone. My friends were already there waiting for me, but as always, we still had to wait on one more person. Chad.
Come on, man, let's just go inside without him,
said Steve. I don't think we can. Last time I checked, we can't start our jumping session until the entire party's arrived. Besides, if we start before Chad, our sessions will end at different times. Can we at least wait in the lobby? Said Colin. It's freezing out here.
Agreed, G.
The four of us went inside to wait in the lobby. The entire building is pretty spacious, including the lobby. And a big front desk where you book your jumping session at, a food court area for when you're hungry, along with a bunch of seating and benches you can wait on. We decided to sit down there for now. All was chill, until we caught sight of a blue minivan pull up near the front doors. It didn't bother parking in the parking lot though, no. Rather, it acted like it was some sort of valet service there that would just park the minivan for him. Just then, the owner stepped outside. It was no one other than Herbert Ernie himself. We already knew that he meant trouble based on his appearance that day. He wore a full, complete mechanic's outfit involving long, baggy jeans, along with a jean jacket that was unbuttoned. Underneath said jean jacket, he wore a white t-shirt that had a hole cut out right where his belly button was, allowing for his belly button hair to stick out 5 inches. His choice of shoes may have been the most alarming of all, however, as it involved a regular pair of bright neon yellow sneakers, but they had coiled up springs on the bottom, and I can only imagine what those are going to be used for. His pot belly extruded out to the size of an oven, and his chubby cheeks and triple chin were droopy and reeking with some sort of unknown grease. His hair was even crazier. It went straight up for about 3 inches before flattening off in a sort of table fashion. This meant that the flat top of his head was larger in diameter than his actual head. On top of that head of table hair, he wore a jean material mechanic's hat that looked like it was about to fall off at any moment, due to it not actually being able to fit on his head because of his hair. "Quick, everybody hide," I said, as Herbert was now on his way inside. The four of us hid behind some benches that we were sitting on. We were able to still peek our heads out over the seats, so we could see what was going on. Herbert strolled in through the automatic sliding doors. Everyone in the lobby likely immediately felt off and uncomfortable by his creepy presence, and I don't blame them. Herbert went up to the front desk and said some words.
"I'm here to fix the leaky pipes."
We don't have any leaky pipes, the woman working the front desk replied.
"Nonsense now. I know you do. I was called in by some special bros to come and fix them."
I whispered some words to Colin, Steve, and Frank. This was not a good situation. "What should we do?" I whispered. "I don't know. Wait till he goes away, I guess," Colin replied. "Yeah, but you know he's not going to do that. Let's just stay on the down low throughout the day. We can still have fun, though. Just be careful," said Colin. Colin was right. As for now, we just have to hope that Herbert either goes somewhere else or leaves completely. We just want to have a fun and relaxing day for once, with the same dude ruining it every single time. I'm telling you, the same shit happens every single time. Anyway, we went back to watching what Herbert was doing. The woman at the front desk was really trying her best to convince Herbert to leave. "Listen," she sternly said, "we do not have any leaky pipes. We never have any."
"It's too late. Those leaky pipes are already set in stone, and it is up to me to fix them."
"Fine. If I let you go to the bathroom to look at the pipes, will you just leave me alone?" she asked, very uncomfortable at this point. Herbert seemed static. He gave the front desk woman a salute and was off towards the bathrooms. Little did the front desk woman know, however, that she had made a huge mistake by letting Herbert go off all willy-nilly and fix the leaky pipes, quote-unquote. Anyway, we emerged from our hiding spot with a sigh of relief. Just then, Chad arrived. "What's up, bros? Ready to tramp?" "Yep. I've been practicing on my trampoline at home all the time."
"Boss man, I bet I can jump higher than you. You fat as fuck,"
Steve pointed out.
"Yep, we'll see about that one now, Steve. Last time I checked, you don't have a trampoline that you can practice on every single day."
"Hey, let's just go and get our tickets now," said Colin. We did just that. We went up to the front desk and got our wristbands that would be valid from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. that day, giving us a solid 3 hours of jump time.
"I say we schedule a break in the middle of our session to hit up the food court open eating arcade scrub. If you want to hit up a bro-tense game of trampoline basketball after lunch."
"Man, that sounds like a fine-ass plan to me, G. I've been practicing my hoops for years now. Back in the hood, I was known as Flame Ball Freeze,
Steve exclaimed.
I scored all the best shots.
We'll see about that one now, Steve bro. Just got a fresh new pair of LeBrons. And they're known to make one jump pretty high upon wearing them,
Said Chad as he showed everyone his new pair of shoes. Indeed, they were a brand new pair of LeBrons. Anyway, we headed into the main trampoline area, but first, we had to take off our shoes and change into the special grippy socks that they make you wear in order to jump. Well, Chad, seems like you won't be able to wear your LeBrons while you jump, I told him.
Well, that is quite unfortunate now, isn't it, bros? But my feet should likely still be used to the soles inside them. Maybe I should still have the jumping power come the basketball game,
Chad replied, as he flexed his suspiciously blocky bicep, which was weird. After we all finished putting the special socks on, we officially entered the jumping zone, as they called it. It had everything from trampoline basketball courts to the infamous foam pit, as well as things like trampoline dodgeball as well.
Looks like fun, bros.
Man, fuck all this other shit. Us man and I hitting up the dodgeball.
You dear, Steve. Dodgeball sounds kind of risky. I'd rather just go relax in the foam pit instead.
Oh, no you don't, Buzz man.
Steve said as he grabbed Frank's arm to drag him into the dodgeball arena.
You gotta learn how to get slammed this shit like a real man.
As Steve dragged Frank into the dodgeball area, Chad suggested that the rest of us hit up the foam pit.
Wouldn't want to get into the intense jumping quite yet, would we, bros? First, we gotta loosen up our muscles and warm up, and the foam pit is perfect for that.
Colin, Chad, and I went over to the foam pit. We stood by the edge, and Chad immediately hopped in.
Geronimo!
He exclaimed as he leaped in the cannonball position. Colin and I jumped in next, and as expected, we immediately sunk deep into the seemingly bottomless pit of squishy foam. I then remembered that these things were meant for little kids, not for nearly fully grown adults, hence why we sank in so much. Chad then began slightly squirming. He seemed to be struggling. Hey, you alright, Chad? I asked.
Oh, yep, okay, bro,
He replied. He now seemed to be doing like a swim motion. I will admit, those foam pits are always annoying to get out of, even as a little kid, I remember. But Chad seemed like he was treading water, like he was sinking it away. Although this should theoretically be impossible, since it's impossible to drown in a solid like that. We messed around in the pit for another 3 or so minutes. That was when I felt my foot rest upon what felt like cardboard. I knew for a fact that what I was stepping on was not the bottom of the pit, as the cardboard-like material sloped off on all sides, making it like a pyramid shape in a way, or like a dome. Hey, do you feel that? I asked Colin. Colin then came over to where I was and said that he felt it too. Hey, we gotta go down there and check this out, he said. I agree.
I think I'll set this one out, bros. With gains this big, it tends to get a fly claustrophobic in those tight spaces,
mentioned Chad. Colin and I dove down into the dark depths of the foam pit till we reached what we were feeling. Sure enough, it was cardboard. It was hard to tell what it actually was, as the foam limited what we could see, but we figured it was some sort of cardboard igloo or something like that. We could see a faint glow coming from inside via the cracks in the walls. It even had a door. Well, I guess we should go inside, Colin suggested. We did just that. We swung open the door to the cardboard igloo, and were met with a small indoor area with a little light source inside. Herbert Ernie was the first thing we saw upon entering. He was crouched by a little tin can with a tea-light candle set on top of it. He had his chunky hands hovered over it as if it was cold, and the tea light was producing some sort of imaginary heat. He then went on to greet us.
Nick, Dylan, I'm glad you both came down to say hi.
Herbert, what the fuck are you doing? I asked demandingly.
I had made it my mission to come to the jet zone today to fix the leaky pipes. However, it seems like we're slowed in there, boys, which is why we're trapped inside my igloo. My name is Fix-It-Man Ernie, and it is my sole honor and duty to go around trampoline parks all around the country and fix whatever needs to be fixed. Sometimes my ladies like to help the job too, you know?
Herbert explained as he winked. Oh no, Herbert, you have zero business being here today. You better take your little igloo down right now and get the fuck out of here.
No way, no way. We'll be in this together now. I say we bust out this joint and have some fun.
Colin and I were relieved for a split second when Herbert said that. We then realized, unfortunately, that Herbert didn't mean bust out a jump zone like we initially thought. Rather, he meant just bust out of this little igloo. Herbert then balled up his legs and arms until his entire body looked like one massive chubby ball. He then used all of his energy to expand his arms, legs, and belly back out to make the entire igloo collapse on itself.
Yeah!
Next thing we knew, red and yellow foam blocks came falling into our faces, and we were immersed back into the darkness of the pit. We vigorously kicked and wriggled our way out to the top. Herbert was already up there waiting. I had no idea how he got up there so fast.
Herbert, bro, what are you doing?
Chad nervously asked.
Chad, what surprise indeed. I say that now the four of us are out in the foamy pit. We're headed to stationary trampolines to practice our jumping skills.
Sounds like a plan, bro. The stationary traps always seem like something that we can keep key.
We then headed over to where the stationary trampolines were. They were essentially just the area we can go and free jump, if that's what you want to call it. It also had trampolines at like a 45-degree angle by the walls as well, in case you're doing tricks or something like that. As soon as we got there, Herbert immediately began jumping. He tucked his legs into his blubber, meaning that the part of him hitting the trampoline was just his bottom, not his feet, if that's what you want to call it. He simply bounced up and down with a cheesy grin on his face. Pretty creepy if you ask me. Colin and I then went on to try our hand at doing a backflip off the 45-degree angle walls. But that didn't go too well. Oh, okay, that's enough of that, Colin said as he rubbed his neck.
Be careful, bro.
Chad piped.
Don't want anyone getting hurt now with booze.
Chad was just standing on one of the trampolines, bouncing up and down only a few inches. He was seeming to keep things pretty low-key, as he's known for doing. I glanced over to the dodgeball arena and witnessed Steve absolutely railing Frank with dodgeball after dodgeball after dodgeball. Frank was wailing for him to stop.
Okay, Steve! Please stop! Please!
He cried. Eventually, Steve did stop and let Frank be.
That's what you get for being too cocky now, boss man.
Steve told him. Something told me, however, that Steve was the one who was actually being cocky. 10 minutes later, we looked back at Herbert, who was now riding a pogo stick. He was jumping high enough on the trampolines without the pogo stick, but now that he was riding the pogo stick on the trampolines, he was soaring to new heights. Herbert, stop! I shouted, but it was too late. Herbert was now bouncing upwards of 50 feet in the air. He almost touched the ceiling.
He
snickered.
Seems like Fix-It Man Ernie is reaching new heights. Maybe I should hit up the moon bounce,
he said. Just then, Herbert directed himself all the way to the moon bounce whilst he was in the air. Look out, kids! A worried parent shouted as a group of about 25 toddlers all ran from the moon bounce, screaming.
Here it is!
Herbert proclaimed. He then landed on the moon bounce at an extremely high velocity. Such a high velocity, in fact, that the entire moon bounce popped as a result of the pogo stick. What the fuck happened in here? We heard a worker shout from the lobby, as the popping of the moon bounce was so loud it likely attracted the attention of everyone. All the kids had fled from the site of the moon bounce, including their parents. We all watched as the large 30 by 30 moon bounce slowly deflated. It made a funny squeaking-like sound as it did so. All the jump zone staff formed a circle around the bounce, ready to confront whoever was inside of it. The moon bounce was now all the way deflated. All that remained was the imprint of Herbert Ernie himself. We could see as he frantically scrambled to stand up. Soon, he emerged from underneath. He looked like a complete mess. His hair was now fried in a way, kind of like a mad scientist who had just failed an experiment. His cheeks also looked like that of a chipmunk storing nuts for winter, and the pogo stick seemed to be transformed into a rocket on the bottom.
Seems like Fix-It Man Ernie is a little too much of an objective name for yours, eh?
Herbert inquired, making absolutely no sense. Yeah, more like Destroy It, Man Ernie, a worker replied. I'm calling the police.
Well now, we wouldn't want to do it now, would we? What if I make it up to you lads?
No, you're only going to make things worse. Just wait here until the police arrive, the workers demanded. But Herbert had other plans in mind.
Hold it now. I may have ruined the moon bounce, but don't worry. Fix-It Man Ernie can still come through for you boys. In fact, I made a mistake. I said I was coming here to fix the leaky pipes, but I got a little carried away. Now, I will hereby fix those leaky pipes.
No, you don't, a worker said. But it was too late. Herbert was already in the process of transforming the pogo stick into the rocket, like I mentioned. He pressed the sort of on button, and the next thing we knew, he's being propelled into the air. He flew around the massive room for a few minutes, just randomly going in disorganized circles. He screamed. Everyone was shocked as he continued flying in circles. Pretty soon, he found an open pipe in the rafters of the ceiling, and he flew into that. He was now inside the pipes. The entire room fell silent.
Seems like those pipes are indeed leaky. But don't worry, they will be fixed momentarily.
Herbert said, his voice muffled from inside the pipes. Now, there was absolutely nothing we could do. We could hear the slow and sporadic banging sounds of him crawling his way through the large pipes. Once in a while, he'd make a sly remark or something such as,
Pretty dusty in here, boys.
or,
Anyone want to join me? This is when I call some real adventure.
pretty soon the banging of Herbert in the pipes faded away as he moved into another room or something. The police arrived, but by now there wasn't much anyone could do besides tell them that he went in the pipes. Though, I don't blame them for this, but the police did not seem too inclined to go up and investigate inside those dusty-ass pipes. So, yeah, the police left and Jump Zone resumed operations as normal, with of course the exception of the moon bounce being closed. Steve and Frank had wrapped up with the trampoline dodgeball, and had rejoined with Colin, Chad, and I. What should we do next? Colin asked.
I'd say now would be a great time to refuel our jumping games with some good lunch. To the food court.
And that we did. At the food court, we all got in line and ordered our food. The food opposite wasn't fancy or nothing, but still seemed good. I ordered a double bacon cheeseburger with fried pickles. Colin wasn't too hungry, and so he got a soft pretzel with cheese dipping sauce. Chad ordered some hot sauce burritos along with a large churro milkshake to wash it down with. Steve ordered the jumping kangaroo wings, and finally, Frank got the world's largest hamburger, which looked disgusting. Frank, there's no way you'll be able to finish that. Not even someone of your size, Colin said.
Yummy. Looks yummy though. Besides, I may not be able to save some for later.
Why you always gotta be so obsessed with being a fat-ass buzzman?
Steve said.
That's enough, Bruce. We've got gains growth to consume. We want to eat at a respectful pace if we want to have enough time for our post-launch trampoline basketball game,
Chad suggested smoothly.
Now that sounds like a plan I can respect. Unlike Buzz-Ass and his dick cheeseburger.
We all went and found ourselves a table to eat at. Frank's burger, however, took up way too much space. This meant we needed to scooch over multiple tables just for Frank. The food was pretty good for the most part, and we all enjoyed our meals. After lunch, we re-entered the jumping zone and went over to where the basketball area was. Steve immediately hopped on the trampoline court, already dribbling a ball.
Beat it, Buzzman. Ain't no way you finna beat me in a 1v1.
He proclaimed.
Hey, Steve, I'm gonna win.
And it was on. Frank began trying to steal the ball from Steve, but Steve kept juking him out. And this is how it continued for a while, every so-and-so. Steve would attempt to make a three-pointer or a dunk, but he'd fail every single time.
Man, this is easy work. It'd be clear that Buzzman never plays ball.
Steve pointed out. Just then, out of nowhere, Chad steps in. He casually grabbed the ball as Steve was running by and suavely dunked it in the hoop. He didn't even need to jump. He must be thinking that Chad is like 7 foot or something, but no, rather, the basketball hoop was only set to 5 feet.
And that's what I call a bro hole-in-one,
He said smoothly. He then lost his balance and fell over onto the trampoline.
Woo! You!
Chad, that's a golf term. Now get up, I told him. Chad took a minute to stand up. He seemed to be having trouble fixing something under his shirt. I didn't know what it was, although it sounded crinkly in a way. No, I decided not to say or worry about it. As of now, we had about an hour left on our jump time, and it was close to noon. We messed around on the basketball court for a little while longer, before Steve made a suggestion that would make the day go from weird to buck wild.
Man, let's go climb the rock wall.
I don't know, Bruce. Rock walls can be known for being pretty sketchy. My grandpops once told me a story back in Texas about his friend who was a cowboy who had thought climbing up on the ranch. But long story short, he was never heard from again. My pop says that he fell and landed in a pit of rattlesnakes.
Chad, what the fuck? We're indoors. There's no rattlesnakes, I told him.
Well, it's better to be safe than boom sorry. I think I would just sweat out. I'll be at the Dippin' Dot stand if heroes need me.
And that just left Colin, Frank, Steve, and I. We walked up to the rock wall and showed the worker our wristbands. Hi boys, my name's John. I'll watch over y'all as y'all try your hand at climbing my rock wall, the worker said.
Man, I wanna go first. Back in the day, it used to be the best. I used to scale 20-story skyscrapers with ease.
Try your hand, buddy, the worker said. Steve leaped into the foam pit and began swimming his way frantically towards the wall. The rock wall is a typical one that you see at the trampoline parks, about 30 feet high, and when you either got too tired or to the top, you could fall into the foam pit beneath to catch your fall.
Steve looks like a fishy.
Frank cackled frantically.
Shut your bitch ass up, Buzzman.
But it was true. Steve did indeed look like a fish as he scrambled to get to that wall. I had no idea what the rush was, but it was whatever. Next, Steve began climbing the wall. Chad had just arrived back with his Dippin' Dots. It was the cookies and cream flavor. Chad, I thought you were Mr. Gaines. Why are you eating Dippin' Dots? Colin asked.
Well, Bruce, here's the thing. Dippin' Dots are actually perfect for the gains, and more specifically, a perfect gym pump. So basically, what the sugar in this does to make more oxygen flow to your biceps when hitting those brutal curls. And the dairy, this contains calcium and most importantly, protein.
I knew that Chad's claim was bullshit, assuming he was hitting the gym right after the jump zone, that was. Otherwise, the Dippin' Dots would go straight to his belly, ruining his six-pack abs. You know, assuming he actually has a six-pack. I'm pretty sure he does, though. And you can literally see the outline through his shirt. Anyway, back to Steve. He reached his hand onto the rock wall and lifted himself up. He almost looked like a spider due to how scrawny he was. He continued his hasty climb. That, however, was when I noticed something creepy towards the top of the wall. It was a hand, like a real-life hand. It's pale and chubby and stuck out of the rock wall in a spot where a handhold should have been. Its fingernails were yellow and long, and did a sort of come here motion with its pointer finger as Steve climbed closer and closer to it, all without noticing. Look out, Steve! I think there's a little bit of a loose handhold coming up, I shouted, trying to hold in my laughter.
Shut your booty hole, man! I'll practically be one with the wall at this point,
he cockily stated. Little was he aware, however, of the treachery that lurked just ahead for him. I glanced over at John, the worker, who apparently hadn't yet noticed the human hand sticking out of the rock wall, as he was simply standing there with his hands on his hips, watching Steve climb. There was nothing we could do to save Steve at this point. We already tried warning him, but he had ignored our warnings and was too focused on climbing the wall. Then, the inevitable happened. He set his hand into the chubby hand sticking out of the wall, and then grasped onto it.
Yo, what the fuck, gang?
Oh, seems like someone forgot when April Fool's Day is, John said as he chuckled. But Colin and I knew what was really going on. Steve, you gotta get out of there, Colin shouted. Steve let go of the rock wall and was now in the position where he'd be hanging solely by the chubby hand. But the chubby hand wasn't that strong because it immediately let go of Steve as soon as he let go. However, as a result of Steve's weight hanging onto the chubby hand, even for a split second, cracks appeared in the rock wall, and before we knew it, the entire rock wall came crumbling down. No! Not my precious wall! John cried. You okay, Steve? I asked as the pieces of rock wall crashed down right on top of him.
Yeah,
He replied, inside the foam pit. It didn't end there, though. The perpetrator of the mysterious chubby hand also came down at the rock wall. It was no one other than Herbert Ernie himself. He still wore the same worker jean outfit from earlier with the hat and everything, only now the fit was all dusty, like extremely dusty. Who are you? John exclaimed.
my name is Fix-It-Man Ernie, and I was just rubbing up finishing those leaky pipes.
Herbert announced. That doesn't explain the reason you're in the rock wall, Colin protested.
Well, see, boys, those pipes are quite tricky, and like a maze. I got lost. That's how I ended up where I was. Besides, when I heard you boys were going to the rock wall, I knew I had to join. I figured Stevie may have needed a helping hand, wink wink.
Herbert said as he gave Steve a creepy wink. Absolutely nothing that Herbert said made any sense. How did he know we were going to the rock wall? He must have been eavesdropping in our conversation when we were at the basketball court. Pretty creepy. Anyway, Herbert wasn't done yet. He proceeded to take off his jean jacket, leaving him only in a white tank top that he hadn't previously had on. Or maybe he did. I don't know. He then went on to vigorously shake the jean jacket back and forth, releasing massive amounts of gray dust as he did so. At first we weren't worried much, but soon the dust became out of control.
It's dustbinny time, boys,
Herbert mentioned. Okay, it was bad now. Dust had overcome the entirety of Jump Zone, and we couldn't see more than 3 feet in front of us. Everyone was screaming and panicked as they tried to find the nearest exit. The entire situation was complete and utter chaos. I stumbled my way through the dust, trying to navigate my way out. For the longest time, whilst we were in the dust, I thought I could only hear Herbert, but it turned out, even in the dust, I could actually see him too. Herbert screamed. I could hear him getting closer to me. Soon, I was able to see him. He now wore a pair of those industrial flame goggles, which involved the rims of the lenses being extruded out 7+ inches. The lenses themselves followed suit. The insides of the lenses appear to be glowing in a way. Very bright too, like a furnace. It's very bright too, almost like a glass furnace. as you could see the flame glow from over 25 feet away, even in the dust. And in this dust, you could barely even see 3 feet in front of you. Seeing Herbert in his flame goggles meant that you knew he was looking at you. Herbert approached me and then said some words amongst the chaos. Some words that would stick with me for a while.
Don't worry, Nick. It's all part of the process. These pipes are now clean.
Though something told me that the pipes are now the exact opposite of what Herbert had claimed. 5 minutes later of navigating through the dusty wasteland that was now Jump Zone, and I finally found my shoes. I put them on and ran to the exit. Again, you still couldn't see more than 3 feet in front of you. Once I burst through the front doors and outside, the sun blinded me, but it felt great to get out of what I'd now call Dust Zone and back into the fresh air. Colin, Steve, Frank, and Chad were already outside waiting for me. We glanced back at Jump Zone and realized that Herbert's dust catastrophe was even worse than we initially thought. Dust was leaking from the windows, and people were fleeing left and right. Next thing we knew, the police arrived on scene, along with the fire department. The firefighters dealt with all the dust, and the police bravely stormed inside the building to locate Herbert. 1 minute later, they had Herbert in a fireman's carry, and also in handcuffs. Herbert kicked and squirmed, but luckily, the officers held him firm. They directed him into a cop car, and Herbert was taken away. Jump Zone would have to be closed for a few weeks, so the dust could be cleaned up, and the employees could recover from what Herbert had done. The rest of us crossed the street to go to a nearby gas station so we could use the bathroom sinks to rinse off the dust we were now covered from head to toe in. After that, we all got in our cars and drove home, traumatized from this trampoline treachery.